Hello everyone and welcome. I just got a new headset today and I wanted to test out the volumes a bit because it's very different from the one I had before. Same brand, audio completely different. Funny how that works. And I figured this would be a good time to show you some of the changes I've made to this ship since the last video. So let's take a quick look. Obviously I've armored this turret and I've added a second turret. I've significantly reduced the fire rate. The cooldown was 0.2 seconds. Now it's 0.51, I think, on both cannons. And the shell has been changed. It's now entirely high explosive, with 3 meters of high explosive with a cavitation base and 1 gunpowder. Now, I found out later on, after making the first video, that only 20 of these auto loaders were actually loaded, and so it was only firing 20 shells instead of the full 60. And it was basically because I'd forgotten on these 4 rows of auto loaders here to configure these. So these were not configured to use my shell customizer, so they weren't loading, which is very unfortunate, but it was still pretty ridiculous, wasn't it? Now, this, and I have a feeling we're going to have to turn that off. We're still firing a 500-meter shell. Explosive damage and explosive radius are ridiculous. Kinetic damage, it's a big shell, what can you say? Pretty much no armor-piercing value whatsoever. 4-meter shells, they're nice shells. Takes forever to reload them, though. And, time to pass shell to ammo rack, not clip, 88.6 seconds. Expected reload time from clip, rack, not clip, 44.31 seconds. So it's almost a minute. In fact, it's almost 3/4 of a minute to load a round from a shell rack into an autoloader so it can be fired. So it's a ridiculously long reload time. And for those of you who are curious as to why I say they're not clips, let me just show you what a clip looks like. Okay, these are clips. The one on the left is a clip from an 8-round clip from an M1 Garand semi-automatic rifle used by the United States during World War II and owned by a lot of people. There's probably millions of those things out there. They were used up until Korea. And the clip on this particular clip, you could see it's a metal piece that fits around the outside of the cartridges and clips them in place, which is where it gets its name from. This particular clip would feed down into the rifle with the bullets. The clip on the right is a little different. It's called a stripper clip. And there's a very good reason for this, which I'll explain in a moment. You can see how the bullets, the very end of the cartridge, clips into the little curved metal clip, stripper clip, and they just kind of slide back and forth on that. There's a good reason for this. Let me show you another picture. Now, as you can see here, we've got 2 pictures of the same gun. The bottom one is before it's been modified. It's an SKS, which is an old Russian semi-automatic rifle. Shoots the same bullet as the AK-47. And coming out of the top, you have a 10-round stripper clip, which is essentially what we just saw in the other picture. It was on the right side. You can see how it's hanging out of the top of the gun. The clip does not actually go inside the gun. The gun has an internal magazine that's non-removable that holds 10 bullets. And this clip is used to feed the ammunition into the top of the gun. And what you do is you put your finger, like a thumb, on top of the bullet that's on the top, and you push them all down inside the gun, and they kind of ride or slide along that stripper clip. And you strip the bullets off of the stripper clip into the magazine by pushing them down. You'll see this in certain games, such as the Red Orchestra 2, I think it is, Heroes of Stalingrad, when you're firing a bolt-action gun that uses a clip, like the Mosin Nagant or the German Mauser K98. You'll see the guy use the clip, put it in the top. With his thumb, he'll push down on the ammunition until it's all in the gun. Then he'll push the bolt forward, which pushes the clip out of the gun, and it just falls on the ground, because in the Army, you just discarded those. You didn't keep them. When you're a private shooter at home, you keep them because they're reusable. The gun on top is the modified, actually it's the same gun that's on bottom. It's been modified to take a 30-round box magazine from an AK-47, which is that thing hanging out of the bottom of the gun. Holds 3 times as many bullets. It's detachable, so you can just take it off. You can put more bullets in it and put it back on the gun. Makes it much easier than reloading 10-round stripper clips into the gun each time you want to shoot. Stripper clips are still fairly common. If you buy military surplus ammunition, they usually come on 5-round stripper clips, sometimes 10-round, depending on the caliber. So this is why I'm saying that these shell racks are not clips, because clips, first off, it's an old technology. We had clips before we had magazines. And so people got used to referring to what they put their bullets in order to load the gun, a clip. And so the terminology just kind of stuck when we switched to using magazines. You know, the box magazines you see on your AK-47s and AR-15s, like an M4 or an M16. The drum magazines, like you'll see on, say, the AA-12 shotgun, 20-round drum magazine. Or is it 10-round? I think it's 20-round. Some, like either the RPD or the RPK, Russian light machine gun, has a drum magazine. Fits in the bottom. There's an old Colt machine gun that was never went into production, had a side-mounted drum magazine. That's different from a clip, but we still call it a clip, even though that terminology is incorrect, simply because that's what people were used to, and the term stuck. So when you hear me say, no, that's not a clip, that's what I'm talking about. So let's get this nonsense off the screen and go back to the ship here. So another downside, of course, of this particular shell configuration and gun configuration is that muzzle velocity, 86 meters per second. That's a very slow moving shell. And as you'll see later on, it has trouble with targets that are moving quickly. So let's go ahead and exit, get out of the rear magazine there. And let's spawn something. And I would believe in the first video, I spawned in a plunderer to show you that the ship was not capable of destroying it. Well, with 2 cannons and a little bit of armor on the first cannon, that has changed. Oh, especially when it spawns in directly in front of my ship. All it has to do is angle its guns up and fire. One advantage of the slow speed of these shells is the angle they have to be fired at. I've found helps them get above the shields that they put on these godly vessels. Because if it had been firing down here, it would have just bounced off the shield. But because it went in the top and hit the top, it bypassed the shield. So I do very much like that. I found that there was a bit of a disadvantage to having it configured this way, though, and that was the range was rather limited. See, that thing's dead. It had no chance. I mean, it scratched us up. It hurt us. Put a few holes in the hull. Not sure if this was even exposed to water. It may have been. Nope, not flooded. And this is also not flooded. So we only flooded one compartment. I noticed that with the 1 meter mantlet on these, they couldn't angle up high enough to shoot targets at a distance. So I replaced the 1 meter mantlet with a 3 meter mantlet, and I removed a little bit of the armor so that this cannon can angle up higher and shoot further targets, and shoot at a few air targets as well. It can't take everything. Things that fly too high, it still cannot destroy, because it can't shoot at them. Things that, well, the bulwark. It can't take a bulwark. As I mentioned, I just hit quit game, didn't I? Well done. Well done. We'll just relaunch the game, not a big deal. As long as it doesn't crash, right? It didn't crash. Nice. We'll just leave him floating there. Come over here. Got a lot of ships in here. Okay. So, like I was saying, it cannot take a bulwark. Can't really take anything that's fast, because the cannons don't spin that fast. You guys are going to shoot, right? Hello? There they go. Wow. Looks like they were on vacation. Ship's going to sink before they get half their shells shot. Now they do a ton of damage. Look at this. They're just ripping away the armor on this thing. And this ship is known for having some pretty thick armor. We've already lost the front. Oh, we've lost both cannons. Normally, these cannons will take you out anywhere from 40 to 50% of this ship, but it will not sink the ship. We'll do that again because that was ridiculous. That should have gone better than that. I don't know why the ship waited so long to start shooting. Maybe I need to give it more time to sink and settle in. Well, that should be enough. Okay, you have an enemy. Track the enemy. There you go. I was really intent on shooting down low, trying to hit the magazine or whatever's down there. That shield might have been taken out, actually. But that shield's usually the reason that I can't destroy this. And actually, ships that are heavily armored like this are the reason I'm building. Ooh, we've lost both cannons again. So that's about the same amount of damage as last time, isn't it? I'd say that's only about 30%. Maybe a little higher than that. What is this turret doing? Ballet or something? Never seen a turret do ballet before. Oop, I think we just lost the rear magazine. So you can see the bulwark is still way too much. If I ever feel like shielding this thing, then theoretically, once I get a shield on it, it could take a bulwark. Right now, it takes about 3 of these, maybe 4 to take a bulwark, unless they get lucky. Sometimes you'll get some lucky shots, and you'll take out up to 50% of a bulwark. Really, it helps if the bulwark is farther away. The farther away the bulwark is, the easier a time this thing has taking it out. I know that sounds kind of funny, but with the HE shells, the accuracy isn't as important. Whereas with whatever the bulwark is firing, I guess the accuracy is important. It can't score as many hits or something. That and with these 40-meter barrels, we've got reasonable accuracy at a long distance, even with only 1 gunpowder charge. Now I'll go ahead and spawn a Kingstead just so that you can see. You already saw a little bit with the bulwark, but I'm sure you guys are just itching to see this thing tear up an armored target. I mean, just look at how this is melting the armor. There, it's gone. Gone. Someone doesn't want to leave me alone. They're getting annoyed by the fact that I have to keep re-recording this, I think. Is it shooting above the water line? It is. Okay. Yeah. It'll just carve right through. Actually, for some reason, it seems to be doing less damage than it was earlier. But it's still doing quite a number on this thing. Yeah, there you can get a good idea of how much damage they do there. They just kind of rip right through armor. Sometimes it'll take a couple of hits, but there's no material in-game other than maybe the reactive armor that can handle more than 2 hits from this. Really can't handle more than one hit. I think we're out of ammo, but the AI on this thing's dead and it's sinking, so it doesn't actually matter. We did lose a cannon. That explains why the fire rate dropped. Not a surprise. It's a lot of things will destroy this front cannon, even with all of the armor I have on this. Although usually that particular ship does not make it through the armor on this. It just got lucky. It's the one interesting thing about these AI battles is it's really just roll of the dice. Whoever manages to score the lucky hit first. And in that case, the Kingstead got the lucky hit. It just was outclassed by these HE rounds. Now, for fun, let's get an angler out. And let's see if it manages to get moving before my cannons start firing. If it does, it's fast enough, it gives my ship a run for its money. Yeah. And see, this thing is a little difficult to kill, partially because it's so fast, partially because it's got a fairly slim hull. And my ship can actually run out of ammo, all 120 rounds, before destroying the angler. Oh, and I think my shield... I think it just had some rounds bounce off a shield. Yeah, it's a shield right there. That's part of it. Anytime a ship is shielded, I still have no clue how to deal with that. I've tried proximity fuses, I've tried inertial fuses. You know, I've stuck everything I can think of on these guns to try to take out or destroy stinking... what's it called? Shields. Yeah, that time we destroyed it. Sometimes we don't. Usually we do. Got lucky that time, I guess. So you can see the ship it's shaping up nicely, even though it's rather ugly. I'm not good with design in terms of aesthetics. I can make a reasonably well-performing ship, I guess. At least I should be able to. Like, engineering isn't that difficult if you understand how everything works. At least it's never seemed that difficult to me. Not everyone has the same experience with engineering, though. So as long as you know how everything works, it shouldn't be that difficult. Let's get something that flies. I don't think we're going to be able... That thing flies too high. Airship, thruster? Did I say... Holy crap, I can't speak. I think I've been recording this video too many times. This is, I think, the fourth time I tried. The last time was perfect. And then I realized that OBS was set to preview and not to record. Boy, was I disappointed. Let's make sure that none of these fly too high. That one's way too high. That one is too... That one's way too low. We'll go with this. We should be able to take this out. Well, maybe not. It's a little close now. Oh, there it goes. That was another reason for putting the 3-meter mantlets on there, because I found it couldn't shoot at air targets with the 1-meter mantlets. It's just going to keep shooting. Those ridiculous HE rounds. This ship design obviously has some drawbacks, but it was never intended to be a multi-purpose... I guess I shouldn't say that. It was never intended to take on air targets. It was intended to take on medium to large ships that I wasn't able to take on with the ships I had. And I'll show you what I've got. Actually, the ship I've got can take on medium targets. It's armored well enough that that's not a big deal. Or I shouldn't say armored, it's shielded well enough. I have shields on it, even though I suck with shields. But one more demonstration here of a fast-moving ship. There's something fast. A zealot? Is that fast? Please tell me that's fast. Okay, yeah, that's got some speed. So you'll see the big drawback to these cannons. They just can't move fast enough. In fact, you see they keep trying to reset because they can't follow the target. So this thing will eventually peck my ship to death. Because I can't... like, these cannons literally cannot engage. They'll get a few shots off here and there. Like, this cannon will get a few shots. Maybe only one or two. Nope. Wasn't able to. That thing's just too fast. So, once I get to fighting this opponent in campaign, this ship is no longer going to cut it. I'm going to need missiles, more than likely. I may be able to get away with a smaller cannon. Probably a series of smaller cannons, you know, a bunch of them. Would probably work. Ah, here we go, we've got some shots firing. So if these shots hit, we can do some damage, but they're just bouncing off the shields. Because it's trying to shoot for something in the front of the ship. This thing is so fast. We lost a barrel. Sad, but not really that surprising. So, really, I don't think we have any chance of destroying this thing. It's just too fast. So that's where this ship really really fails. Fails miserably. Destroying anything that's fast, and anything that's flying too high in the air. And anything that's too far away. So it's got its drawbacks. And these are drawbacks I'm well aware of as I continue with this design. Wait a minute, that's not what I want to show you guys the reason I'm building this. Now this ship probably has... No, I know it has no problem shooting at air. It has no problem at all shooting at air targets. Let me turn off the combat AI. This thing is ridiculous. I started with just this section, right? This bottom wasn't on here, these pontoons weren't on here, and I was having issues. What were the issues I was having? Oh, it wouldn't stay afloat. The front was dipping down too low, so I was like, okay, I'll put pontoons on it. That didn't actually help. So eventually I was like, okay, I'll put bottoms on everything, and these are made out of alloy. We're missing a piece. On both sides. Interesting. Okay. So I put these alloy bottoms on there, and that helped a little bit. At the time, I didn't know about these things. These pumps. So eventually I get pumps in there. And the front's still dipping because of the way I designed this. I mean, there's nothing underneath it, right? So it's just not able to hold its own front up. And originally I had this huge top on this thing. Went up at least twice as high as the tower currently is. I think higher than that. I think higher than this piece here. Just kind of went up and back. And it was way too heavy. The thing, as soon as it would get hit, even if the hull was not compromised, it would get hit once and it would just roll over. And it would have to finish the battle upside down. Usually it would be able to do it, which is hysterical to watch. But it just was not cutting it. So I took that top off after playing with the lead nonsense to try to weight it down. It's not a ballast. I can't remember what they call that. Eventually I decided I had to take this off to lighten it up because it was just too heavy with the lead on the bottom. And I put lead back here and a lot of it to balance it. And I think I even have these set to 0. No, buoyancy fractions at 100. Buoyancy fraction. Okay, to keep it above the water, I think I set them back at 100. There was 1 or 2 of them somewhere that was set at 0, and I don't remember which ones now. This is obviously not set at 0. Here's the one down here. Nope. They're all at 100 now. Originally I had the ones in the tops and the pontoons set at 0 or 40 or something like that to try to angle it, and eventually I just gave up on using those as as a way to keep the front up. Decided it just needed more weight in back. But not on top. It needed it down below to keep it from rolling. So I took weight off top and put it down below. And it seems more stable. It seems a lot more stable. It doesn't roll over in combat anymore. I had to put shields on it because even with, what is this, 2 meter thick armor, it would just get this cannon torn right off of it. And I had to, the blue ones are reflect, I think. Yeah, the blue ones are reflect. The green ones are disrupt. Yeah, disrupt. And I found that that was necessary after putting all of the reflect shields on to put disrupt as well. Because even with the reflect shields, it would still get the cannon destroyed relatively quickly. And I found that if I put disrupt in front of the reflect shields, that it had a higher chance of reflecting the shot. Don't ask me why, I know nothing about the shields. So this, against medium and even some large adversaries, it has some survivability, but not a lot. These pontoons go easily, especially the bottoms. If anything hits the bottom of this ship, it's just alloy, and it just goes right through it. So this thing, it has, you know, reasonable, for low-tier enemies, reasonable survivability in combat. This is a 200mm cannon. I cannot remember how many shells it will fire before it has to reload. It's not very good, so let's just get something from the Deepwater Guard. We'll get a Marauder, because it will... Hello there. It will tear this to pieces. I did not intend for this to be this close. You know what, let's just destroy all vehicles and respawn this nonsense. We need to get it back here, I guess. Turn off the combat AI because I don't like the ship going anywhere. Yeah, we were fighting a Marauder. Oh, that's much better. Why didn't it spawn out there the first time? So now you can see the combat effectiveness against lower tier, especially wooden targets, is relatively good. And this is what I've been using in campaign. But it's not a very good ship against anything higher than these low-end wooden opponents. It is a really shitty cannon. It's got an unfortunately long reload time and doesn't shoot that many shots before it has to reload. I've got, you know, I've got auto loaders and shell racks sandwiched in here. 2 shell racks per auto loader. So I've got, what, 5 of them in here? They are 2 meter, I think. No, these are 4 meter. No, they're 2 meter. And I've got 2 more down here. So there's actually 10 up there. So I've got 12 shots total out of this thing, but it's not enough. And this thing is mostly AP, or I'm sorry, mostly HE, high explosive, with an armor-piercing cap and cavitation-based 2 gunpowder. It's a reasonable cannon. The enemy's destroyed. It reloads a hell of a lot faster than the other ship. And so this has been my mainstay in the campaign. It's taken out anything that the Deepwater Guard's thrown at it yet, but it cannot take out the larger ships. I can't remember if it can take out a Ransack. I'm pretty sure it can't. So let's spawn one and see. And this right here is really why I'm working on that small capital ship. Because I need something that can take out these larger enemies. Once I get to fighting these things, I'm not going to have any chance. Not with this little ship. I mean, it costs way too many resources to build it. As you can see, it's just a waste of metal. Look at that, the shields are chewed up already. It's lost the cannon. The front of the ship is probably exploding. Oh, no, not yet. Usually the whole front of the ship explodes when it loses the cannon. So you can see why I don't go with the ship. The engines are hit. That must be why we lost the shields. It's our power fluctuating back and forth. So, I mean, this thing can sit here in combat for a while, but it can't actually participate for a while. It's kind of a shitty, and the game freezes. Actually, I think the game crashed. That's kind of what it sounds like. It's kind of a shitty ship. And I really don't like it, but it was my first ship. And as a first ship, I guess it wasn't horrible. But you can see why I'm designing a better ship. My little capital ship can take out pretty much... It can now take out anything the Deepwater Guard has. And it can take out almost everything that the Onyx Watch has. Once I get beyond the Onyx Watch, I'll be in trouble. I'll have to come up with some new design. Because I'll have to learn how rockets work or something like that. Yeah, we've got a problem here. Yep. I wonder if I hit check for a solution and close the program, if the guys who make this game will get the report from Microsoft. My understanding is the way that works is Microsoft collects the reports, they save them in some kind of database somewhere. Developers from the various companies that make software that want to participate in the Windows error reporting program can then log in via a Microsoft website. They can check for reports on their executables that they've made, and they can get these crash reports from Microsoft to help with debugging problems like this, which is really great. There's one major drawback to it, though, and that is quite simply it's 3 weeks behind. It is literally 3 weeks in between the time crashes, or more, in between the time the crash happens and the time the error report shows up in Microsoft's web panel for the developers to see it. So chances are that the next version of this game will be out before they see that error report, simply because Windows error reporting is so slow. And so the company I work with doesn't use Windows error reporting, simply because it takes so long to get the error reports that they already have the next version of the software out, at least in public beta and ready for a final, before they'd get the error report for the last final version, which is ridiculous. They need those error reports preferably within the first week that a new final comes out, not 3 or 4 weeks later. But just for fun, let's take a look at this design. It is really cramped inside. I got this engine design that I got out of a YouTube video. It's not a bad design. It's, an engine block or whatever, an adapter, 1 cylinder, 4 turbos, a carburetor, and a supercharger. And I've just got a bunch of those that I made a prefab of. They're all over the place in here. Then in here we've got the fuel, we've got the ammunition parts, and somewhere in here we've also got, we've got these in here too, to store resources. That way, as it's out fighting, it can gather resources to use in repairing itself. At least that was the general idea. I think I already mentioned that these are color-coded blue for reflect and green for disrupt. The pontoons, they were originally hollow, but originally I also had one of those large, ridiculous engines in here, and I decided to replace it with these because they were more fuel efficient. And I also up-armored this nonsense. My hope when I did this was that if one side exploded, it wouldn't take out the rest of the ship. The reality of the situation is that up-armoring did not really help. I think there's one time I saw this side explode in combat, and this side did not. Usually it takes out, if one side goes, it not only takes out the other side, but it takes out all of the engines, the AI, and the ammo customizer, which is unfortunate. We also have, I think, some engines. Yeah, there's just tons, because these things, they produce 100 power per engine, so you have to have a ton of these. They're not suitable for small ships with shields, unless you have a ton of room to stick these things. So I have them in the pontoons, both sides, just a line of them going down the pontoon. Same on the bottom. Well, the back doesn't have them. I only put in as many as I felt I needed for this design, and you can see that there's some extra power. I didn't feel it needed any extra power than what is it, like 25% more than what's needed, 30%? Maybe as much as 40% more than what's needed. So we've got these engines all over. The one unfortunate thing about putting them in the pontoons was it wasn't tall enough for the supercharger. So the supercharger actually got cut off the top, at least on the bottom row. When I first built this, I found the engine was more powerful, or more efficient without the supercharger. It produced, well, maybe not more efficient, but it produced more power without the supercharger. Just like 0.1 or something like that, more power for an even 100 instead of 99.9 or 99.8 or 99%, you know, something ridiculous like that. What it would do with the supercharger. I think they've fixed that now. Looks like I'm getting even. Maybe it just doesn't show decimals when it's in the thousands. I don't know. That's okay. I'm just glad the thing doesn't roll over. I really don't intend on putting any more work into this design. I think it's a terrible design. It was my first ship, so it's understandable that it would be terrible. And I'm through with it as soon as I get this capital ship done. But just in case you want to see it, I'll go ahead and spawn. Do you want an airship or a thruster craft? We'll go ahead and spawn this thing. That one's a little low, but that's okay. Yeah, you can see these shells do a reasonable job versus smaller to medium targets that are not significantly armored. This had some armor on the bottom, but these shells chewed it up. It was not strong enough. May have been alloy, I don't know. I have no idea what this green stuff is. Is this XP? Is my ship absorbing XP or something? I've got no clue. Let's get something a little bigger than that. Some of the airships they throw against you in the campaign. This one's big. I have not seen this one in the campaign yet, but it's big and it flies pretty high, so it makes a good demonstration of this thing's shells. This thing is actually capable of damaging air targets, and so I'll probably keep it around in my fleet just for the sake of air defense, because you saw that capital ship can't shoot at this. Whereas this ship actually has an AA mantlet, so it can shoot at this airship. I love those red eyes in the window that looks like a mouth. Makes it look angry. This thing just keeps getting higher and higher, doesn't it? Eventually it will be out of range of our cannons, just because it's going too high. Come on, reload. There you go. You can do it. Oh, no, apparently you can't. Ah, there you go. And down it goes. We just needed to knock some propellers off. Or rotors. Knock some rotors off. Those are not propellers. Although, to be honest, they kind of look exactly like the propellers, don't they? It just crashed into its own airship. That's funny. Did we take out the other one? No, we did not. In fact, I think it's just trying to shoot at it. Obviously, this ship is not the greatest for anti-air. And I think for anti-air, what I'm going to have to do is just get a really high-speed projectile that's maybe 100, 120 millimeter, something like that. And has a high rate of fire. Maybe, you know, just a simple sabot. 2 meter to you pack as much gunpowder in and have one piece of sabot body with a sabot cap or head or whatever. Did it crash into the airship too? I'm not really sure what happened. We're still shooting at something. Is that... Where'd that plane go? Well, it's not in this firing arc. No clue. I think the ship's confused. I think the game's confused. But you can see we took some damage. The shields are not that great on this thing. Just for fun, we'll show you how shitty the shields are. Actually, I think I already did, didn't I? But we'll let it get destroyed one last time before we call it quits. You can see those shields do help, but they're nowhere near enough. It's punched through the shields, it's knocked off the barrel. It's tearing up the pontoon. Eventually it's going to get through and hit the magazine. If this thing could fire continuously, it could probably take the Ransack. One issue I had with the Ransack was it would get too close and it would plow into this and destroy it. Or, well, not destroy it, but it would flip it over. This thing, as soon as it got hit by something, it would capsize. Yeah, that's it. Shoot the bridge. We're actually faring better this time, aren't we? But we're still essentially sunk. I mean, there's a few watertight compartments that are intact. I don't think this one is. But there are a few that are intact that are holding this ship up. But that's it. It's slowly sinking. You can see these shells just are not powerful enough for the Ransack. Not powerful enough. Yeah, and our ship is... It's trying to capsize, but that lead on the bottom is keeping it from happening. Then it does, I think, have still one or two compartments here that haven't been flooded. Yeah. Which is keeping it afloat. Don't tell me that you actually won. You actually sank it? Holy crap. So you can see, yeah, we just lost that, took out everything. So it's done. It's lost enough engines that the shields won't work anymore. I think it lost its AI as well. Yeah. AI always goes when the magazine goes. But it won. It would be theoretically possible to repair this. Except that it has no... I should not have put the supply crates next to the ammo and fuel. I should have put them down here or something in the pontoons. I should have put them in the pontoons. You know, along this side or something. So that they didn't get taken out when the magazine went. That way the ship had some hope of repairing itself. This ship, if it doesn't get completely destroyed in combat and actually takes out the enemy, it has some chance of survivability, I guess. So maybe the design wasn't absolutely horrible, but it started out horrible, and it didn't... I mean, it's not really very good. I don't think it's good. So you can see why I'm working on a replacement for it. So hopefully I'll have more for you on that small capital ship later. Obviously, I'm not going to work on this thing anymore. I think I've taken this little guy as far as I can, and I'm done with him. I may build something new that's smaller for an AA boat, but this thing's done. And hopefully I'll have more on that capital ship in the near future. I think I mentioned it earlier, but I don't actually like building ships. So every 3 to 5 days I do a little bit. Then I watch it blow up some AI ships for a while. And then I don't do anything else. So it's going to be a work in progress for some time. If I ever get it done, I'll try to get it uploaded to the workshop in case anyone wants to play around with it. And by play around with it, I mean improve it so it doesn't suck as bad. So thanks for watching, everyone, and have a nice day.